Hey guys, how's it going? It's El Platano Loco here with a special announcement that most people have already heard of, but there's a new expansion in Hearthstone called the Ashes of Outland, and a new class was actually announced, the Demon Hunter class. We got our boy in the background here, Illidan. Um, just insane. We're actually going to dive into the card reviews for the 27 cards that were released as the basic set for the Demon Hunter class. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. Aldrachi Warblades is a 3 mana 2/3 weapon with lifesteal. I think this is actually going to be pretty decent for Demon Hunter, especially to kind of like fight off aggression while still keeping themselves fairly healthy. The 1 mana hero power really does kind of help to buff this up a bit more, and it does have 3 durability. Now, we don't know if there's going to be any type of minion or spell effects that are going to make the weapons better, possibly adding more durability to it, or more attack. So as of now, seems pretty solid. 3 durability is a lot. 3 mana is actually a pretty good deal, so I rate this a 3 out of 5. The Battle Fiend, a 1 mana 2/2 minion that reads, after your hero attacks, gain +1 attack. This is really busted. You already think about cards like the Battle Mage, the one mana 2/2 minion, the neutral one that's being run in every aggressive deck. 2/2 is actually really hard to remove early on in the game, and it actually kind of goes up and scales as you attack with your hero power. Now, the very interesting thing and very unique thing about the Demon Hunter class is that the hero power costs 1 mana instead of 2. So you could think about turn 1, you draw Battle Fiend. Next turn, on turn 2, you could drop another Battle Fiend and hero power, have 2/3/2s out the gate, or even worst case scenario, it's turn 2, you go Battle Fiend, coin, hero power face, or hero power a 1/1 minion, take them off the board while still buffing up the Battle Fiend. I think that this card is actually going to be really, really strong, and you just got to give this 5 stars. Demon Tag is really awesome. A 1-drop premium stats with scalability. You think about cards like Mana Worm and others like Tunnel Trog. Whenever there's a opportunity for a minion of this caliber to play this early on and be able to scale it, is always an indicator of a really good card. So Battle Fiend, 5 out of 5 easily. Our next card is a 2 mana spell, Blade Dance. This is actually a pretty solid removal tool. It reads, deal damage equal to your hero's attack to 3 random enemy minions. So for 3 mana, you can do a kind of like a small AoE, deal 1 to 3 minions. Not too impressive, but just note that whenever you do have weapons equipped, it goes according to whatever the attack of the hero is. So if you do have the Warglaze, which is a 3/4, and then you hero power and Blade Dance, you do like a micro Flame Strike to all enemy minions. So I think that this is actually going to be a pretty decent removal spell, especially for the early game. So I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Our next card here is Blur. Blur is a 0 mana Demon Hunter spell that reads, your hero can't take damage this turn. Now, I think that actually a lot of people have been kind of giving this a bad rating. I think is more so kind of middle of the road, at least for now. Being able to use this spell and then leveraging your hero power as well as your weapons, especially when you have lifesteal attached to some of the weapons or deal damage to the minion next to it. I think this is really where Blur shines. So this is pretty insane. While you're removing minions, you're not taking any damage, so you could be removing big taunt targets. with your weapons, and you just cast Blur and you're not taking any damage at all. So while it does have some narrow implications, more so for removal situations, I still think that this is going to be a pretty great card. So I do rate it a 3 out of 5. Our next card, Chaos Nova. Chaos Nova is a 5 mana Demon Hunter spell that reads deal 4 damage to all minions. Now, this is really powerful. Now, the only thing I'm thinking about is for depending on which build you're going to be playing with the Demon Hunter class, you might not want to be dealing that much damage to your minions, but it is a great AoE to kind of clear up the board and just start to develop yourself, because it does deal to your minions as well. But for 5 mana, it's like a improved Hellfire. Deals 1 more damage and it only keeps it to minions instead of damaging your own face. So I think this card is really solid. Chaos Nova, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Our next card here, Chaos Strike. Chaos Strike is a 2 mana Demon Hunter spell that reads give your hero +2 attack this turn and draw a card. So Chaos Strike also goes well in hand with Blade Dance, the card that we saw earlier, the 3 mana deal your hero's attack to 3 enemy minions. This buffs up your attack for the turn, so it gives you a leg up as far as like doing any type of removal, or if you just want to attack the face, because you're not just limited to removing the minions, right? And the addition of drawing a card while still giving you some damage is really solid. I like this card, and it's part of the base set, so I really like that Blizzard and the Hearthstone team are actually giving a very, very solid foundation for newer players that are trying to get into the Demon Hunter class with this set. I really like Chaos Strike. I rate it a 4 out of 5. I think it's really solid. Okay, so now we kind of get into the Swarm of Locust territory, or Swarm of the Elladar. I really like this card. This card is really strong, especially when partnered up with a card that we're going to see down the line here, which is pretty insane. But Command the Elladar is a 5 mana spell, 5 mana Demon Hunter spell that reads summon 6 1/1 Elladar with Rush. Now, it may not seem too impressive at first, but there's 2 cards that work really well with this card, and we're going to get into that in a later time. But as far as even single target removal, we think of cards like Bees, where you just target 1 minion and you do 4 1/1 pings for 3 mana. You're getting two additional minions here, and they don't instantly attack. You get to choose exactly what each individual token attacks, so it's not just focused on one target. So I really like that. Great anti-aggro tool, as well as being aggro too, because you don't necessarily have to trade them in. You could just leave them on the board, and then you could either trade in, or you could just leave them on the board and next turn attack. There's one card, the 3/1, that actually, for each minion that dies, it does a 3 damage ping that damages an enemy. So this paired with that is going to go really well. So Command the Elladar, I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. Okay, Consume Magic. Consume Magic is a 1 mana Demon Hunter spell that reads silence an enemy minion and outcast draw a card. So for those that don't know what outcast means, if the card, whether it be a spell or a minion, is on the far right or the far left side of your hand, then it gets an additional bonus effect. So in the case of Consume Magic, we have both silence an enemy minion, which is the base effect, and then the outcast, which is the bonus, is that it draws a card. So silencing something while drawing a card, very, very powerful. I think that people are kind of underestimating the amount of power that Consume Magic is going to have, especially after rotation with a lot of the ones. So they introduced these new minions that they actually scale. So they start off in one form with a death rattle, and then the prime version, prime, as I was looking for, the prime version actually is much stronger. So consume magic is going to be very, very useful in stopping those minions from achieving that prime state, especially if Demon Hunter is going to be one of those aggressive decks that just wants to push. The main concept is to push through big minions, taunts, and everything like that. So having a cheap spell that also gives you an additional cycle is very, very powerful. So I'm going to give Consume Magic a 4 out of 5. Coordinated Strike is the next spell, similar to the Swarm that we saw earlier of Elladar. Coordinated Strike is summoning 3 1/1 Elladar with Rush for 3 mana. I think this is also going to be a very fine card. Just having those 1/1 minions for Rush, or just to build a board presence, as well as comboing it. A cheaper combo activator to the 3 mana Naga minion that we're going to get into in a bit. I really like Coordinated Strike. I think it's a solid card, although not as swarmy as the 5 mana Partner in Crime. I feel like this is still a pretty solid card, so I'm going to give Coordinated Strike a 3 out of 5. Now the next card here, IBeam. IBeam is kind of crazy. 3 mana epic spell that reads Lifesteal, deal 3 damage to a minion. Outcast this card costs 0. So on its own, 3 mana to deal 3 damage to a minion only seems okay. There's no really like a prerequisite or a requirement to have a certain type of minion type in your hand. This is more comparable to Nether Breath, but the flexibility of Nether Breath allows it to target the face as well, being cheaper, but with that kind of requirement of having a dragon. So IBeam being more limited to minions and kind of just like giving you a control tool is already pretty solid. But the Outcast is when it gets insane. Casting this for 0 mana, if it's on the far left of your hand or the far right, is where this card really shines. Now, whether you're going to be playing this in a swarmy version of Demon Hunter, or maybe the big demon version that people have been talking about, it's probably more likely going to go into the control or mid-range variant. I feel like for a more aggressive deck, the silence as well as cycle is going to be probably the prime kind of like pseudo removal, as well as the token generator, as well as the ping. So IBeams as being a solid card for certain types of deck, but definitely not for the aggressive version. If this could go face, then it would definitely go on the aggressive version, but being that it could only target minions, it's probably going to be tossed into the control or mid-range variant. But I like the effect. Lifesteal is very powerful of a tool to keep you in the game, so IBeam, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Feast of Souls. Alright, so this is the card that I was talking about. Feast of Souls gets played with both of these spells, Command the Elladar and the other 3 mana spell, to give you a lot of card generation. So Feast of Souls is a 2 mana spell for the Demon Hunter that reads draw a card for each minion that died this turn. So as it reads, you trade in your minions, you draw a crap ton of cards, anywhere up to 7 is what your board allows. If you already have a board kind of set up and you're just trading in your minions to get more values, you can think about it as a kind of like a Cult Master, right? A Cult Master on a stick that doesn't have to be on board. So it's not like people can kind of just trade in to your Cult Master and then deplete you of your draw, or that you have to actually play the minion from your hand. It can't really stop Feast of Souls unless it's like a counter spell or something like that. This card is insane. If you're already getting 2 cards is already kind of like the break-even point. 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards, anything above 2 cards is already insane. If you could get 5 cards off of this thing, or 6, if you trade in all of the tokens, that's already crazy value. This card is definitely going to see play in every single Demon Hunter deck. I'm saying that now. Calling it. Calling. So I give this card a 5 out of 5. This card is amazing. And you can run 2 of them. 2. That's really crazy. But on to the next. Okay, so the Flame Reaper here is a 7 mana 4/3 weapon that reads also damages the minions next to whomever your hero attacks. So on the base level, 7 mana is a lot. Now you're more than likely not going to be playing this in a aggro version of Demon Hunter, more so a control variant. 4 damage is not too high for when you're playing this weapon at 7 mana. By then, most of the minions are kind of like in the 5 to 7 health range. So I don't think that Flame Reaper is going to be doing as much as I think it is. Now, granted, the effect is pretty cool. I don't know. I don't think this is that good though. Flame Reaper, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. I'm thinking about like the upside, right? If you do add the +1 attack with the hero power, it's an 8 mana 5/3 that can pretty much have like a cave Hydra effect, right? Because it damages minions, so it could attack 3 for the price of 1. But still, I think it's just too slow. 2 out of 5 stars for Flame Reaper here. Alright, so the next minion here is actually really strong, the Gladebound Adept. So Gladebound Adept reads, Battlecry, if your hero attack this turn, deal 4 damage. That's really strong. Very strong. If you already have a weapon equipped, it's instant 4 damage with a 7/4 body that is very, very top heavy, very aggressive. You do want to be running this in pretty much any deck you can think of. You want to run it in aggressive deck, mid-range deck, control deck. The flexibility of having that 4 damage to remove either other minions to take board presence, or just throwing it face for more aggressive playstyle. I feel that Gladebound Adept has that versatility. Also having that 7/4 body, if this thing hits you in the face, if it hits your enemy in the face, that's already about 1/4 of their health. So very, very good. Also very good to trade into other minions. I feel like what they're trying to kind of push, especially with the way that Demon Hunter is looking way more aggressive, is other classes are going to push more to control. From what we've seen from some of the Shaman cards and the Warrior cards as well. So I feel like Gladebound Adept is actually a really, really strong card, and giving it that instant. You think about Hearthstone cards that are very strong, they do something as soon as they hit the board. And not only having a solid stat line, but also doing something as soon as it hits the board is what makes this card so good. I'm going to give Gladebound Adept a 4 out of 5. Okay. So, Hulking Overfiend. 8 mana 5/10 minion that reads Rush. After this attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. So, this isn't going to be an aggressive dex, most likely mid-range or control. But it seems a little... I'm not sure if this is gonna make the cut. This might be decent in a big demon version. I'm gonna play around with it for sure, so I can't really... I'm gonna give it kind of like a middle of the road. It has a solid stat line. 5/10 is really good. 5 attack is usually able to push through multiple minions, while having a large health pool of 10 health will at least give it at about 3 trades even. So giving this the ability to attack again, and if this survives the first phase and goes into the second phase, after it attacks a minion, it can actually attack the face. But 8 mana is a lot. If you could cheat this out with, there's also the 7/9 demon that summons other demons from your deck. This could actually be really strong, because it's kind of like that turn, it's your end of turn, right? So when you get it back, if it survives, you're able to attack minions and attack face. So Hulking Overfiend, I think it's going to be pretty decent. I give this a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. Until further notice. Okay, so our next minion here is Elladar. I hope I'm reading this right, right? Elladar, not Ladari. Elladar, yeah. Elladar Foulblade. 4 mana minion that reads Rush Outcast, gain immune during this turn. This is pretty solid. Of course you want it to survive, right? But turn 4, turn 4, is it going to be something that you kind of top deck off of the, you just kind of top deck on 4? The likeliness of that happening precisely on 4, or holding it in your opening hand and sliding it, having it slide over all the way to the left, is highly unlikely. And I think the only thing that really makes this appealing is the gain immune this turn, right? Because essentially then it gets 2 trades for 1. Because it has a very high attack for a 4-drop. So if it's able to do 2 trades with the immune or even go face, it is very aggressive in stats. So that is where it shines. But to pull off the outcast, I feel like is going to be a little tricky, especially when you have the cards that are on the mid to high side like this for 4 mana. But just having the rush for 5/3 is not bad. I think about like cards like the Militia Commander, right, for Warrior, which starts off as a 5/5 when you play it. The reason why it's so good in what it does, or was, because people don't really play it anymore, is because it has that 5 health stat line, right? But I guess the trade-off here is that if you were to trade in, you keep the high attack, and if you have the immunity during the turn, then you can pull off that free trade. If you're able to pull it off consistently, which I kind of doubt, then it would be like a 4-star card. But I'm going to give Fellblade 3 stars. Still think it does have a lot of potential though. Okay, so the next card here, which I actually didn't see during the reveal, but it's very interesting as far as the effect, is Mana Burn. Mana Burn is a 1 mana spell that reads your opponent has 2 fewer mana crystals next turn. This is really interesting. Now I'm just thinking about all the possibilities in how Demon Hunter can be built, because this is another class. So I think that when people are kind of thinking about the deck building for this class, they're kind of just thinking only Demon Hunter cards. But you can run a Highlander version of this and just have Mana Burn as one of your disruption tools. Let's say you want to be able to play your Dragon Queen on, let's say it's turn, you have 10 mana, right? Or let's say you have 8 mana, you want to Mana Burn your opponent so that they don't play their Dragon Queen, or they don't play their 9-drop, let's say. And then when they have to swing it back to your turn, you're able to play your minions efficiently. Now, Bully kind of plays that same role, but I like the fact that this actually reduces the mana crystals temporarily. I don't think we haven't had anything like this before, so it's actually a really interesting effect on a spell that is very cheap. So you can even play 2 of these and eliminate 4 mana crystals, especially when you're being an aggressive deck and you want to kind of like prevent your opponent from getting back in the game with potential lifesteal or healing opportunities, right? So Mana Burn, very, very cool. I like the concept of the card. I think it could be played in pretty much anything. You want to prevent a Reno on turn 10, you could play it and just finish them off if you have a very strong board. It has a lot of implications. And the fact that it's just 1 mana, I really like that. I'm going to give Mana Burn 4 stars, which is sounds kind of weird, but I think it really does have potential. I'm definitely going to try it out when it does come out. Okay, so Satyr Overseer. Satyr, right? Or Satyr? Satyr Overseer. After your hero attacks, summon a 2/2 Satyr. Or Satyr, I think it's Satyr. 4/2 minion, demon. That's a 3 mana. And this guy's interesting. Very interesting. Um, this is why I'm thinking that that 2 mana weapon that summons the 2/1/1s is gonna be really cool, because if you kind of lead into this, you already have 2/1/1s, and then you play Overseer on 3, and then you just keep on swarming the board, and not really giving your opponent a chance to develop. They just constantly remove. And I think that this is kind of like where Demon Hunter is going to be performing best, is as a very aggressive type of deck. So I think that Overseer here is actually really decent. It does have 4 attacks, so it's very aggressively statted. A couple attacks from this thing, and you're going to be hurting pretty bad. I think this card's cool. I mean, your hero power is 1. Granted, your hero power is 1 mana, so you could either play this on 4 to get immediate value, or if you already have a weapon set up, you're kind of just pumping out, right? There's that 2, was it the 2 mana neutral minion that summons 1/1 pirates? That card never really kind of took off because the tokens are very weak. They could get pinged off, they could get whirlwinded. You know, the AoE, very cheap AoE can easily take them out, but 2/2s are more resilient. And usually, from like what I've been seeing playing Hearthstone, at least this season, not the past few seasons, 2/2s actually can survive until mid game if you're able to put out enough pressure. So Overseer here, I actually really like this card. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5, just because it gives another tool for Demon Hunter to go off of as far as that aggressive build. Another premium 1-statted minion here, Shadow Huff Slayer, a 1 mana 2/1 minion with Battlecry that reads, give your hero +1 attack this turn. This is another good card. Holy cow. So if you think about Demon Hunter right now, they have 2 1-drops that are really good. So they have the 2/2 that gains +1, and then you have the Slayer here, which is a 2/1, give your hero +1 attack. I think you just run both of them, 2 of each, if you're going to be running the aggressive list. Because this thing is nuts, man. I really like this. Just very, again, very aggressive stat line. It just provides early chip damage while giving your hero the ability to attack as well. So you're developing while giving yourself a chance to remove other smaller minions that could pose a threat to yours. And you could also buff the other 2/2. You can buff it while you play and develop another minion. So I just feel like there's very good synergy here with the other 1-drop as well. Slayer here, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. Okay, so here we're going to Soul Cleave, similar to Warrior's Cleave, which does 2/2 to 2 random minions, but for the additional mana, you get lifesteal attached to that kind of removal or damage for the enemy minions here. And I think that's pretty significant. It heals for 4 if it hits 2 targets, right? And I think that this can also be amplified by spell damage as well. If I'm thinking correctly, it should. So, you know, +1 spell damage is already pretty insane. Doing 3 damage and healing for 6. If you have anything more than +1 spell damage, 2 spell damage, that's already healing for 8 while dealing 4 to 2 minions. That's already pretty insane. But on a base level, it is lacking a bit. I feel like the 2 damage, I don't think it's a significant enough breakpoint to kind of make this viable, but with spell damage, I think you can see the right play. I'm going to give Soul Cleave a 2 out of 5. Let's go on to the next one here. Okay, so Twin Slice. Twin Slice is a 0 mana spell that gives your hero +1 attack this turn and adds a 2nd slice to your hand. Now note, this isn't Echo, it just adds the 2nd slice, which is a different version of the same, different name version of the same spell. Now I think that the reason why they did this is for positioning purposes. So if you play the first Twin Slice, I believe the other one appears on the other side of your hand. So if you're trying to kind of like, you know, get that outcast effect on another card, this helps to not limit the positioning of your hand, to kind of like promote using this while playing the outcast cards as well. I think this card's pretty different, pretty decent. 0 mana, so you could play it literally whenever. If you want to just play both, you're already adding +2, and then you hero power, that's already +3 attack. And if you already have a weapon equipped, that's even crazier. I'm starting to think back to that 7 mana weapon, and I think Twin Slice might make it viable. The more that I think about it, I think I might change it to a 3-star, but Twin Slice is going to make a lot of these weapons really strong. I really like this card. You can run 2 of in the deck, so let's say you pop off both copies of your Twin Slice, both copies of your second Slice, and then hero power, that's +5 to whatever weapon you have. I think that's pretty crazy. So Twin Slice, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Umber Wang. Okay, so this is another bananas freaking card. 2 mana 1/2 weapon for Demon Hunter that reads Battlecry summon 2 1/1 Fell Wings. This card is bananas. You can think about like a lot of people are comparing it to the Rogue hero power, right? Because for 2 mana they get a 1/2, and most rogues do that on turn 2. Not really with coin on 1, depending on if they're trying to like kind of knock out a token minion or whatnot. But the fact that you're able to equip a weapon early and also summon 2 1/1 Fell Wings is really, really strong. Really strong. Anti-aggro as well as just being super aggressive. I feel like this card is very strong, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Wow. Raziel Horror. So Raziel Horror is a 1 mana 2/1 minion for the Demon Hunter class that reads, add a 2/1 Lost Soul to your hand. So reminiscent of trying to think of the minion, the one that gives you the squirrels. I can't really think about it right now, but it's interesting. It gives you 1 instead of 2 tokens, and it's a 2/1 instead of 2 1/1s. I think this card, I don't really like it too much. Comparable to the other two that are very more so proactive. This one kind of just is trying to generate more value, but I feel like the other two 1-drops do the job much better as far as like being more proactive instead of kind of sitting back and relying on that death rattle effect there. I don't really like this card too much. I'm gonna give it a 2-star rating. So this is the card I was talking about, Raziel Naga. Raziel Naga is a 3 mana 3/1 epic minion that reads, after a friendly minion dies, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. Random enemy, not enemy minion, enemy. So you could think about this like a knife juggler on roids, dealing 3 damage for every minion that dies instead of 1 damage for every minion that's summoned. And this works so very well with the token generation spells that Demon Hunter has at its core here. So I mean, it's bananas. This is a part of the base set as well, so these cards are very strong, and just being a part of the core set is really cool too, because it is an epic, so of course it's harder to pull epics. So I believe we get this card for free once we complete the prologue. But this card is insane, man. You play this with 6 tokens on the board, and you can do up to 24 damage. 24 damage with effectively with the minions that are trading in on board, which are the 6 damage for those collectively, and then 3 damage for each ping. This card could single-handedly carry games. 5-star card. 5 stars. And you could run two of them. Who made this? Who made this card, man? This thing is insane. Raziel Naga is going to be a centerpiece in every aggressive um, Demon Hunter deck. Calling it now. Alright. Another very, very strong card that's also an epic is the 5 mana Wrath Spike Brute. 5 mana Wrath Spike Brute. That's a 2/6 taunt, but this one has a very interesting effect. After this is attack, deal 1 damage to all enemies. Not all enemy minions. All enemies. So you think about decks that, let's say, on the other side, you're facing an enemy demon hunter or a enemy hunter, and they see this taunt. It's pretty big, 2/6, comparable to the corruptor. Was it the corruptor? The 2/6 for priest that the death rattle is to kill a random enemy minion. This card is insane. Each time that is attacked by a smaller minion is going to be constantly pumping out 1 damage AoE to all enemies. So very, very strong anti-aggro tool. Very, very strong card here. Solid stat line, 2/6. Most of the time, unless your opponent has already managed to somehow develop a substantial board with what seems to be a very solid early game, I don't think it's going to be very likely against Demon Hunter, depending on how everything plays out. But this card is insane. The fact that it does 1 damage to the minions is already pretty busted, but the fact that it constantly does this and it hurts the opponent's hero as well, they really have to consider whether or not they want to do multiple trades or do awkward trades just to get this thing off the board, so it's not just constantly pinging them for 1. I really like the Brute. 4 stars out of 5. 4 out of 5. Alright, so our next card here, Raging Fell Screamer. The Raging Fell Screamer is a 4 mana 4/4 with Battlecry that reads the next demon you play costs 2 less. Now, a lot of people are kind of saying, oh yeah, throw it in the big demon deck. You know, you reduce the cost of the 9-drop or the 8-drop Rager that can attack after it kills a minion, attacks again, right? You drop that down to 6, or you drop the 9 mana down to 7. I do feel like in that kind of deck, this is going to be very solid. And you could run 2 of them, so you could play turn 4, play a Raging Fell Screamer, turn 5, Raging Fell Screamer again, and then Hero Power. And it's not a demon, so if you have 2 of them in hand, they're not discounting each other. They're being put towards only demons. So I really like the synergy that this has with other demon minions. You're not going to be playing this with the 1-drops, most likely. You're going to be playing this in the big demon deck and just kind of trying to build a solid package there. Maybe 2 of the 9-drops, 2 of the 8-drops, Fell Screamer, and some other spells to kind of support. And also like the Sabotage spell that destroys 2 of your enemy's mana crystals can allow this deck to really perform very well. I think Screamer is going to be pretty solid. Now the limitation is that it's only demons, but since it's a class exclusive, you're not going to be kind of like putting in Demon Hunter cards into this deck most likely if you're going to be doing the big demon build. So I think it's pretty solid. And the stat line is actually pretty decent too. So a 3 out of 5 stars here. And I think that is it, right? That was the last card for the basic set. We're going to do another video covering some of the other Demon Hunter cards, so stay tuned for that. We also stream on Twitch, so if you want to check us out on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/elblatanoloco, and we stream on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday, so make sure to check us out there. I'm going to make sure to include that schedule in the description below, so make sure to actually follow us there and follow us here on YouTube. If you can subscribe, it really does help out. Like the video, it just helps out, you know, with the algorithm and stuff like that, helping our videos become more seen. I'm still, getting better at this. So I appreciate your patience and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. All right. Peace.